Good afternoon and welcome to the SRC's last Lunch and Learn for 2021. We are joined here today with Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. I am Christy King, the Association Executive for the Michigan, or PVM, is Ms. Audra Frye. So just a reminder of who we are and what we do here at the SRC, and if you would like to become involved, the SRC serves as a nonprofit association of government and nonprofit organizations that serve seniors and persons living with disabilities. We provide our member organizations with networking opportunities, training, and funding as available. We try to help them build partnerships and improve the quality of life of older adults and people with disabilities in and across Southeast Michigan. We think of ourselves as that collaborative think tank, all things seniors. So we come here, we talk about how do we best meet the needs of our senior community. So today we'll be joined once again by Audra Frye from Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. She'll definitely be providing everyone with additional information about who they are and what they do. And remember, if you'd like to connect with us here at the SRC, we are on all social media platforms. You can simply click the QR code and it'll link you to all of what you see here through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those places that we are currently. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Audra and let her get started telling us a little bit about who PVM is.
Well, thank you, Christy, and welcome everybody. So Presbyterian Villages of Michigan has been around since September of 1946. So we have been around for 76 years, going on 76 years. We have over 32 senior housing sites around the state of Michigan. And we do everything from independent living to long-term skilled nursing and everything in between. Currently, our footprint is from Harbor Springs to the north and Kalamazoo to the west. Primarily, we are in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, however. And like I said, we do housing is our primary focus, but we also have a whole side of home and community-based services, which I will get into in a minute. But the majority of our housing is subsidized. So the senior for those 62 and older, and those individuals that may have a lower income, we have 22 communities that offer that throughout the state of Michigan. And then we do have another handful of 10 or so communities that are market rate and or what we call a tax credit program. So while their rent is discounted, it isn't 30% of their gross annual income. There is an income qualifier. However, their rent is just discounted from the market rate, the market rate rent. So we offer all aspects of housing. And then we also offer, like I mentioned just a minute ago, a side of home and community-based service. So we are part owner, for those that may know, we are part owner of PACE Southeast Michigan, which is a joint venture with Presbyterian Villages of Michigan and Henry Ford Health System. We are also part owner of PACE Central Michigan, which is PVM, and Masonic Home in Alma. We are joint owners of that program. And then we also have a program called CareSync. And what CareSync is kind of think of that as your one-stop shop and your connector for all things that you may need senior related. So for example, within the CareSync umbrella is case management services, is hospice services, skilled home care, moving services, podiatry services. So CareSync is that place that you can call and they can help provide and get you services that you may need. So instead of you providing and calling a bunch of different providers, you could call CareSync and they can help navigate that for you. So those are our big areas of home and community-based services. that we offer. We're always looking for different ways, and I will talk a little later about partnerships, ways that we can partner better together. But our communities, some we own and operate fully, some we manage for others. So we don't own them, but because of our skills and because we've been doing this for 76 years, we get asked quite often to manage for others. So we have 2 communities in particular that are what we call continuing care communities. Those communities offer everything from independent living to assisted living to skilled nursing, short-term rehab, and long-term skilled nursing. One is in Jackson. It's called Vista Grand Villa. The other community is in Chesterfield Township at 23 Mile and 94, and that's called the Village of East Harbor. Those are also the only 2 campuses where we have skilled nursing. All the rest of our communities, like I had mentioned, are either independent living or they have a combination of independent living and assisted living and or memory care. So that's kind of an overview of PVM. I am very grateful to say that we have a lot of longevity within PVM. Our CEO has been with us for, I think he's at 27 years, I think now. I've been with PVM for 8 years. One of the very cool things about PVM is they have a very strong belief of promoting from within whenever humanly possible. So I'm a product of that. I started 8 years ago in a different role as the area sales manager, which is more like a regional role, overseeing a small handful of our portfolio. And now I oversee all 32 communities on the sales and marketing side. So PVM from an employer standpoint is very much a believer of promoting from within. And we have a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of growth because God love our CEO, one of his mantras, and I hear it all the time, is we can't consider ourselves statewide till we hit the UP, and God love him, he's going to make us go over that bridge at some point, which is definitely a needed area. So he is exactly right. We really truly can't. We are lower peninsula right now, so hopefully soon we will be in the UP at some point. So that's kind of an overview of PVM.
Thanks for that, Audra. Absolutely, you're probably the best person to be over all the sites because Audra is wonderful. If you can't tell with her bubbly personality. And so we love the work that we do in our partnership with PVM over the years and how they continue to support the initiatives of the SRC and help drive them. I do have a couple questions for you though. So talk to me a little bit about if you guys currently have openings, how would someone connect with you? And you mentioned, I think, something about market rates. How generally does that work? How does someone know if they're going to qualify for one of your properties?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking. So we do have openings in several of our communities. And one of the things I always tell families, because I get calls all the time of people looking, please don't, if somebody says that there's a wait list, first off, please don't let that scare you. And here's why. We have a lot of communities, our HUD subsidized communities are usually in demand. They're all independent living for those that are 62 or older. There is an income qualifier based on the county. The county determines what the income level is that you would meet for that particular location. So somewhere your annual income needs to be on average, and please know this is truly an average, of somewhere between $24,000 a year and maybe $28,000. It could be a little lower, could be a little higher based on the community, but your income can't be any more than that annually. There are some things that are deducted from that, like utility, what we call a utility allowance, and your medical expenses. So if you are a little bit over, you could qualify once those allowances are subtracted. And then your rent is 30% of your gross annual income. There is obviously a process to those communities of getting admitted. It can take a very short time, or it could take a little longer just based on information that we have to gather and third-party information that we may sometimes wait for from banks or Social Security. But the teams at the communities are wonderful and they're excellent experts at being able to help navigate you through that process. In those communities, to get put on a wait list, there is no financial obligation. You can fill out a pre-application and get put on the wait list. Here is why I say, please do not let a wait list, or I call it an interest list, scare you. If somebody says it could be a year, it could be 2 years. It has been, in my experience in 8 years, many times where we have people that are on the wait list that we could call 5, 7, 8 people before we get the next person that's ready to move in. And there's 1,000 different reasons why somebody, when we call them, may not be ready to move in. Medically, they can't move in anymore. They're no longer viable to live in independent living. They don't want to move yet. They're still in a lease, or they're still happy where they are. They have moved out of state. Unfortunately, maybe they have passed away. So there are a myriad of reasons why I say don't let that scare you. So that is the subsidized and wait lists. And while sometimes it may take a little bit of time to get you in, there's always opportunity, and you can be on multiple wait lists. So we have 9, for example, we have 9 communities in the city of Detroit. You could be on every one of their wait lists. Each community manages their wait list independently of each other. We don't have a centralized wait list. So unfortunately, you would have to fill out an application for each community you're interested in, but you can be on multiple wait lists to help kind of shrink that potential wait time. The market rate communities, we always typically have openings. What market rate means is the rent is based on what the market can bear for that area. So, and in a lot of cases in those communities, they offer a few extra amenities in your rent. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So at our Village of Westland, for example, which is at Cherry Hill and Merriman, they offer independent living, what we currently call independent living with services. And what that means is there's a home care agency in the building 24 hours a day. So if your loved one or you needed some extra help with showers or medication reminders or anything that a home care agency can provide, you can contract with them separately. And then they have 2 what we call cottages. One is assisted living, and one is assisted living for those with memory care. In that particular community is all market rate. And what that means is your rent is, once again, and they offer 1 and 2 bedrooms, the rent is what the market can bear. But your rent also includes housekeeping every other week. It includes 1 meal a day, and you pick breakfast, lunch, or dinner, which meal you want that to be. We have a fitness person on staff. We have wellness instructors on staff that do activities and do outings. So we offer free, while your apartment doesn't have a washer and dryer in it, we have laundry rooms at every end of each hall, and you get to do laundry for free 24 hours a day, because those units don't back up to an apartment, so you can do laundry 24 hours a day. So usually our market rate communities also include some extra, typically, not always, but in a lot of cases, include some extra amenities, which is why their rent tends to be a little bit higher. Well, when you start factoring out other things like maintenance to your house, or purchasing extra groceries, or those type of things, it tends to be a little bit less expensive or very comparable. And now you're in a secured building. During COVID, I'll give you some examples. During COVID, we were able to bring in some services and make things a little bit easier for residents. So we were able to do some grocery shopping for residents in a lot of cases in all of our communities. We were able to, the nice thing is, in our communities, while people had to be isolated early on, because we all had to be isolated, at least if there was an emergency, all they ever had to do was walk out their door and they would find a staff member or another resident, or they weren't isolated in their own home. They always had people surrounded by them. So if they had an emergency, they could get to somebody very quickly, or we could get to their family very quickly. So in our market rate communities, like I said, we have all kinds. We are actually right now leasing. We also have what we call ranch apartments. So in several of our communities, we have what we call a ranch apartment, which is similar to a duplex or a triplex, meaning that there's 2 units or 3 units or 4 units to a building, but they all have outside exterior, their own entrances. They also have, in a lot of cases, their own garage, their own patio, or patio, because they're all ranches, so they wouldn't have balconies. So they all have their own patio. Most of them are 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And so we have that, that we're expanding at our East Harbor, which is the Chesterfield campus. Then we're also adding a mid-rise apartment building as we speak to that campus, and outpatient rehab. So that campus will have not only inpatient rehab like it currently has now, that was completely renovated about 3 years ago. And the rehab gym was expanded quite a bit. We will also now have outpatient rehab at that campus. And one of the cool features about that outpatient rehab is, the easiest way I can describe it is, we will have a state-of-the-art treadmill, is the easiest way I can explain it, pool. So what that is a pool that you can adjust the water yourself, however high you want it, however low you want it, but it's also a treadmill. So you're walking. So if you have issues with your joints, or you might be a little bit overweight, or this will make it a little bit easier for you to exercise and a little bit more comfortable on your joints. And it would be something that in some cases insurance may pay. So there will be this outpatient rehab that people can go to. There will also be a restaurant attached to that. So there will be a lot of different services available on that campus that residents can participate in. So Christy, does that kind of answer for you a little bit better?
Absolutely. And it also speaks of everything that PVM has going on. And when we think about our seniors aging in place, you just gave a whole spectrum of ways that we support our aging in this community. And when I say community, I'm talking about that Southeast Michigan area, on how we best support them. That is a lot of good things. So our seniors are not seniors anymore. I think about my parents and how active, and they're all over the place. So that's a great example of that. One more thing, with all that you mentioned and the things that's going to be offered on that campus, what type of partners, talk about the partnerships that's involved in that, and how people, if they want to partner with PVM, we know you have a great partnership with PACE, who we love as well. So just wonder, outside of PACE, what are some other partnerships, and how can people be?
Thank you. So that's a great question. So that is actually one of our strengths as an organization. Our CEO, like I mentioned earlier, Roger Myers, is amazing at building relationships and those partnerships. Several of us are. So just to kind of piggyback, as I mentioned earlier, PACE, PVM is a huge advocate of PACE, as the SRC is, because it's an amazing program. And it's an amazing way to keep those seniors that really want to stay in their home and not in a nursing home. So we partner with other organizations to look at potentially PACE programs around the state, which I know that is something Roger's looking at now, at potentially other areas that don't currently have a PACE program. We partner with other organizations to build communities. And I'll give you a prime example of what that looks like. For those that may or may not know, on Meyer Road in Detroit, next to Northwest Activity Center, between 6 and 7 Mile, is a community called Hartford Village. That is a partnership with Presbyterian Villages of Michigan and Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. That particular piece of land, the church really had a want and a need to build housing for their parishioners and the general public, for more of a market rate community that offered some different amenities. So on that campus, we have a small congregate or mid-rise apartment building, and then we have those ranch 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes with the garage that I had mentioned. So that's one way we partnered. So through that, then, for those that don't know, that was the Lewis College of Business space. Well, so here's how that partnership goes one level further. So we built that about 4 years ago. It opened 5 years ago. It opened. It's doing very, very well. And there was still a piece of land next to that. And so an organization by the name of Wallet Construction, based out of Columbus, who is actually building for a partner of ours through the SRC, the Senior Alliance is building housing on their property. Wallet took a look at that property and said, you know what, there's a need for more affordable housing. And PVM, because you already have this property right here, would you partner with us and help us with the pre-lease and then help us with the management of the day-to-day? So after the first of the year, we will start construction there. And so we are partnering with Wallet to build, I think, a little over 100 units of tax credit on that piece of land. And so that there will be an affordable, and there will be some economies of scale there that we can work off of. So we work with churches, we work with other construction, we work with other developers. And then yet another way that we can partner with different organizations is, I had mentioned earlier that we manage some communities that are not ours. So for example, in Jackson, the other life plan community I had mentioned, Vista Grand Villa, that is actually, we manage that community for another nonprofit. Up in Onaway, so for those that don't know, Onaway is way up here near Alpena. We manage another HUD senior housing site for another nonprofit up there. But we also manage and develop for for-profits. So we helped, for those that may or may not know, in St. Clair Shores, there's a beautiful community called Lakeshore Senior Living, right off of Jefferson near 12.5 Mile. We helped that developer that built that senior living. We helped him with kind of some construction plans and kind of really making sure it would fit the market. We helped him with pre-lease. And then for 3 years, we managed that property for him. And then recently the developers decided they didn't want to be involved in senior housing as much. So they sold it to another organization. And, you know, we wish them very, very well. We've also managed for others that wanted to step into that market space. We did that here in Southfield a couple times, where we had a developer from out of state that wanted to get into the senior housing market. We helped them along, helped teach them kind of how it works, and then they were able to manage for themselves. So we do a wide variety of ways to partner. We can just give advice. We've done that several times, where we've helped developers just kind of make sure it makes sense. Does it make sense from a building standpoint? Does it make sense from a market standpoint? So we will help kind of through that. We will help, you know, in other areas. We have done in the past, we had a partnership with another SRC member in Jewish Family Service, Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, Southwest Solutions. There were several of us that came together and started an organization called Metro In-Home Solutions. And it was a great partnership with doing some home modifications. And then the market changed and some requirements changed as far as getting the funding that we were working with. So that organization has since disbanded, but it was a great organization. There was 4 organizations coming together. So we are always willing and able to talk to different groups that may be interested in partnering with PVM. So that's just some of the ways that we've partnered in the past. And then actually that does lead me into Christy, to one of the areas I was going to talk about is upcoming projects. This is another way we partner. So we have 4 projects upcoming that we are calling the Campaign for the Ages. And we are in the philanthropy stage of right now, and the strategic planning stage and the development stage in some of those communities. And what is a Campaign for the Ages, and what are these 4 campuses? Well, what they are is 4 existing campuses that PVM currently owns and manages and operates. 1 in Port Huron or Fort Gratiot called Lake Huron Woods, 1 in Pontiac called the Village of Oakland Woods, one in Westland that I had mentioned earlier, the Village of Westland, and then our campus in Flint, Court Street. For those that may be familiar with Presbyterian Villages, we have a campus in the city of Detroit called Tomei Rivertown Neighborhood. What Tomei Rivertown Neighborhood is one of the first affordable independent living, assisted living, and I would say independent living with services style campuses in the country. And we partnered with several different organizations. So Presbyterian Villages on that Tomei campus has independent HUD senior housing. So those for 62 or older that are income qualified. Then in the center of that campus on the first floor is a PACE program. So we partnered with PACE. We also partnered with another nonprofit called UMRC, United Methodist Retirement Community, based out of Chelsea. And they manage the affordable assisted living on floors 2 through 4 of that building. And it's a specialized program for individuals that may be lower income but need assisted living care. They can have, if they have a Medicaid waiver voucher and then go through the Detroit Housing Commission for their housing, they can look at potentially living at Tomei Rivertown Neighborhood in the assisted living. Then on the third leg of that campus, we have 2 licensed assisted livings for PACE participants, and we call them the greenhouses. So there's 21 residents between the 2, and they are all PACE participants. Well, that campus was so successful and it fit a huge need that we're looking at ways that we can maybe duplicate that to a degree. And those 4 locations I just mentioned, which is Campaign for the Ages. And in some instances, we will have a PACE program run right on site. And in some instances, we have a PACE program very, very close by. So our Lake Huron Woods, for example, Sunrise PACE, which is a partner organization of ours. We do not have an ownership in that. It's just a partnership. In that particular community, the PACE program is right on our campus. And we will be getting ready to add some more affordable housing. In Oakland Woods, we're looking at what type of affordable housing we may add. So that's we're in a strategic planning stage for that one. Westland, it looks like we will hopefully be able to add a PACE program and then some more affordable housing on that campus. And then same in Flint. The PACE program is almost right across the street, just on the other side of the expressway, but we're also looking at some affordable assisted living and some affordable housing. So keep an eye out because we're also doing some fundraising and campaigning for that. But those are kind of some new and upcoming projects that we're working on right now. So there are a lot of different aspects to PVM and a lot of different opportunities with PVM. And we're always looking for ways to expand and grow. So that's kind of just PVM in a nutshell. Hi, Dr. Wright, how are you? So we are also looking at expanding in different parts of the state. So if anybody knows things along the west side of the state or more in the central mid part of the state, those are areas that we currently don't serve. But we would always be willing to entertain and look. Like I said, right now we go as far north as Harbor Springs and as far west as Kalamazoo, but mid-state and the west side of the state, we don't really have a presence right now. So I know those are areas that we're always looking. So if somebody knows of somebody that would like to partner in those areas, we would always be willing to entertain that as well. So those are kind of different aspects and different ways and how PVM is, while it tends to be a little bit more complicated than some housing, it's also very exciting because there's many different ways to be able to partner with us.
Well, what it sounds like is that PVM is really a visionary. You know, Roger is a visionary, so it makes it interesting. It doesn't keep you in one one frame. The other thing, I think one thing to me that you said that was so important was that you don't mind helping people learn about this business, about senior housing and what it takes. And I think that's important as we're looking to continue to meet the growing needs of our seniors in this area. So thank you guys for that. That is great. How can someone connect with you? I'm going to put your information up, the slide that we have, but if
Yep.
there's a more, if people want to connect with you directly.
So, yep,
what would-
so we actually, for those that don't know, so I oversee and help support all the sales and marketing. Somebody could always contact me, and if they're not sure, they can contact our main number, which is 248-281-2020. Once again, it's 248-281-2020. If somebody's looking to partner, say on that development side, where maybe we get this question a lot. I have a piece of land. I know that senior living is the hot new thing. Does it make sense? They can call that main number and ask for our facilities advancement team. They're the team that kind of helps guide and, do that, kind of teach people, well, have you created a pro forma, meaning have you looked at the market? Have you looked at the demographics? So they can help kind of guide that. That's our facilities advancement. If somebody would like to partner more on, say, a program or, build that relationship more that way, they can always call that main number and ask for me, and I can kind of help ask some questions and then get them to the right person so they're not bounced around. Because we do have a wide variety of staff here. One thing I didn't mention is we also do have our Department of Technology. Christy has talked to them, and they also support outside organizations. So they don't necessarily just support PVM. They actually help support a couple housing sites outside of PVM, and they are more than happy to do that. One of the things I did fail to mention, every resident that moves into any one of our communities gets a personal response button. That's part of their rent. That's included in their rent in most cases. And so that is a system that we support outside of PVM as well. We help support that in a couple other non-PVM communities. But we also can support things like technology services. So if you're a smaller organization and you don't have your own technology support, our DOT Department of Technology, may be able to help with that. So if you call that main number, you can always ask for the Department of Technology, and Mark and his team could definitely look at that.
We're definitely recipients of that assistance. Like I said, PVM is a great partner and very resourceful. So when you're thinking about PVM, think outside the box. Just don't think housing and that's all they do, but they do so much more to support our services. One more thing before we wrap up, I'm also excited about the Lewis College campus project over in Northwest Detroit. That's my old stomping ground. That's a beautiful campus. And also they're looking at kind of figuring out what to do with the old Lewis College of Business building. So that's going to be very interesting. That's very needed in that area. That 48235 is a very hot area.
Yeah, so actually the two buildings that are still on campus, those will be renovated into senior housing.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's
stage
awesome.
One. So yeah, so that's what after the first of the year, they're going to focus on, because they obviously have to clean it out and do a bunch of stuff, but those two buildings will be preserved. And those will be senior housing, and then we will build a congregate apartment building as well.
That is great. And it's really great that they actually preserved those buildings and didn't tear them down. So that is amazing. That is awesome. So I want to thank PVM and thank Audra today for everything. I know I had some technical difficulties along the way. I apologize for anyone watching this recording. But we want to remind you guys, please join us at the SRC, SEMISRC.org. To find out more information about us. We have programs upcoming all the time. We are bringing a close to our end of year programming. Audra is actually one of our board members, as well as she heads up our training committee. So a lot of what you guys see has come through Audra, and we love having her. So please join us once again, SEMISRC.org, to find out more information about us. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, Audra, and thank you, PVM, so much for all you do.
Oh, thank you, Christy. You guys have a great
Bye-bye.
holiday weekend. Be safe.